we always have a lot of people that are curious about what is Path of Love. They've heard about it. They've heard people say, oh, my life changed when I did Path of Love. And then when people ask them, well, what happens? That people say, oops, I can't tell you. And I have to say the same thing to you. This is an experiment. I can't tell you exactly what we do in Path of Love, but I can talk in general about it, and I can answer questions that you might have. But we do keep the process confidential, and once you do it, you understand why, and you also are very easily committed to not telling other people because you wouldn't want to spoil it for them. Because it is, I really have to say that it is a really special process. And I think it's a process it's fundamentally the same as we created 27 years ago, and it's always evolving. And in these days right now, I think in response to the situation, let's say, of the planet and all the uncertainty that's there, and many people looking at themselves, it seems like the interest and the curiosity and the desire to find out about it has gone up. So we're doing this, what we're calling taster, for the first time. And my idea with it is just to talk a little bit generally about Path of Love, and then to lead you on a little meditation, which indicates kind of the territory, the movement, perhaps even the feeling of Path of Love, and then primarily to have some time to answer questions or not answer questions. You know, it's like I said, I can't be that explicit about what happens, but I can say it's an incredibly well-crafted process where one day leads into the next day and is a preparation for what happens after that. And it evolves, and it just takes you on a journey like no other process that I know of. And so, what can I say about it? I can give you a little bit of a physical picture so you know what it looks like in the group room. And if you were to join the group, you would be joining most likely between 30 and 40 other people. And once you were in that group, you would be put together in a smaller group of around 10. And with those 10 people, you go on a very deep journey of looking at yourself, of sharing about yourself, about expressing your feelings, about putting out what it is that you really are passionate about in your life. And it develops a tremendous amount of trust. And I think that's really what's so beautiful about it. Like the word Path of Love sounds kind of like la-di-da-di-da-di. And I can tell you Path of Love is and becomes kind of la-di-da and light in the end. But you earn every bit of that lightness because it's a very profound group that really asks essential questions about life. And it has, in a way, more to do with truth and telling the truth and telling your truth and being yourself and taking off the mask and taking the risks and showing up in ways that we don't in our ordinary social lives, and which turns out is generally something we all really long for because it creates a very safe, a very open, and a very close environment where, as the trust develops, as it moves progressively, people just go deeper and deeper and deeper until there's such a deep connection and a feeling of safety in the group because you feel held by and this part I haven't told you yet, there is a staff that is roughly equivalent to the number of participants. So, and the staff are all people who have done the process and love the process and want to be part of creating that environment that affected them so deeply that they come with an incredible intention. And honestly, I don't know of an environment where you'll find less judgment and more compassion than what is in that room. And that engenders a certain feeling of, wow, I've been waiting for this my whole life. Here's a place where I can really be myself. I can really share with others and say the deepest things, the most traumatic things, the things that have shaped my personality. I can bring them out in the open. I can have my feelings about it. And I'm in the hands of, and of course, everybody doesn't arrive with that immediate trust. They may arrive with suspicion, but after a short amount of time, and start to get the feeling and the impression like, wow, this is different here. These people are really here for me. They are really supporting me, and that just helps us to go deeper. And you will also, if you do the process, you'll be in the hands of very experienced and trained facilitators and leaders. All of us who work in the process and holding the space of the process are very trained, very experienced, and work professionally in the field of working with people on one-to-one basis and in running group therapy. And as well, you'll find that we tend to have people that have a deep spiritual motivation inside. Something wakes up in this of like the possibility to realize that my true nature, who I really am. And that we use as a motivator in the group. We start asking that question, what is it that you really, really want in this life? And as you allow that longing and that yearning to come up in your heart, it will take you to what you're longing for, or in the direction of what you're longing for. But what it takes you to a lot of times is the barriers inside yourself. What is it in me that prevents me from realizing the yearning or the longing in my heart? And so it becomes really a group about self-responsibility, about telling the truth, about shedding the identity of being a victim, about taking responsibility, all of which engender so much a high level of self-esteem and feeling of contact and connection with the other people, that love is more like a byproduct. It's not like we come in there and we practice being loving. Love happens. Love is our true nature. But in order to get to it, we have to shed the mask and the pretenses of our personality and tell the truth. And we create an environment that feels so supportive and so safe with this large staff and the way the group progresses that, by the second day, people are oftentimes talking about those things that they swore they would never talk about, that maybe were really formative in their life or traumatic. And by and large, everyone who is in a leader role in the path of love is also trained in some form of trauma work. So we know how to be with people when they bring up, incidences from their life which were traumatic, which affected the creation of their personality and the way that they relate in a particular way. We're extremely skilled at that. And that registers in the field of the group. And people start to feel, wow, I'm safe here. I can really be myself. I can dare to step out of the box of the way my personality usually functions and show who I really am, which of course is that as that happens is can be an ecstatic experience. It can be a feeling of tremendous freedom and empowerment. Most everybody who comes through this process has that happen. They find themselves feeling better about themselves than maybe they ever have in their whole life. They find themselves with so much trust in the process that they're willing to put anything on the table that's happened. So it becomes a kind of no secrets space after a while, which releases a lot of energy. It also can be quite an emotional space. Also amongst the people in what we call the small groups, as I am there and I start to open my story, it affects you and you and you, the other people in the group. And you start to bond on a level of the heart and a level of love. And in some ways, the deeper you go into your shadow, the more trust there is. So the more stuff you bring out in the open, the more trust you receive to keep going. And I'm talking only in general terms because I can't talk in specific terms, but every day is a preparation but what happens in the next day. And you hear that line over and over in the group. Everything that's happened so far is a preparation for what's coming next. And at first you're probably a little bit like, yeah, right. And then you see that it's true. And so we go on a journey together. And the staff that's holding the process, we also do a parallel process. We also, in order to hold a space in that room of unconditional love, which we aspire to, a place where people feel safe to open up, we have to look at our stuff. And so we're also doing a group while the participants are doing the group. And I think that's one of the things that makes the biggest difference in this process and creates and heightens the magic. It's like everybody's in. We're doing it in different ways, but you get the feeling after a while of a deep level of contact, also with the staff and the other participants. I can't tell you how many people who really measure their lives by before and after the path of love. And wherever you go in the world, if you meet somebody who's done the path of love, you really do have something in common. And you know it. You immediately have a certain conversation that you wouldn't have with somebody else because you've gone through this experience. So it's 7 days of deep inner work. And I think what I want to do is just lead you on a little meditation right now for maybe 5 minutes or so. So why don't you just sit comfortably right now and close your eyes. And just have an intention inside to just look back over the landscape of your life. Certain things that have happened in your life that have formed your personality, that have shaped your perspective. Perhaps relationships, how it was in your home environment as you were growing up. And just having a look at the personality that you have developed into, that thing we call me or I. the beliefs, the strong beliefs you have, the self-images that you carry. How you feel strong, and perhaps things that you're afraid of or avoidant of. And I want to say that one thing about Path of Love is that we do not judge a person's personality. We take your personality to have been and to be an intelligent strategy to survive in the environment you grew up in. An intelligent strategy to survive in the environment you grew up in. Ways of behaving, beliefs in what is right and what is wrong, behaviors that are trying to get love and avoid punishment, rejection, shaming. And that we often live our entire lives through that personality that developed in the earlier part of our lives, perhaps around traumas, perhaps around a relationship with a parent, or in school, or in the country you grew up in. And generally, we fixate in a particular way that functions. I mean, we did survive. We're here. But it doesn't necessarily represent our full potential. We sometimes refer to the personality as like being in a box. Nothing wrong with it, but limited. So our personalities are not wrong, but they're often out of date because we continue to see and relate to the world as though we're back in that primary environment. And as I'm talking right now and you're reflecting on your life and the formative moments of it, the patterns of how you behave, perhaps the way you are in relationships, I want to invite you to just take a moment to feel the area around your heart or in your chest. And just notice what the feeling is right now as you contemplate this personality that you call yourself, you call me. and have a look and see if you can feel anything inside that's like yearning for more. Or we use the word often in Path of Love, longing. And often that longing is related to some moments where we've had peak experiences, perhaps in meditation or love or nature or any number of circumstances where we've seen something about ourselves, or we've felt ourselves to be free, where we've been in contact with life or other people in a way that's open, that's loving. And the memory of that often creates a longing, a yearning in the heart. It's as though we sometimes have moments where we are free to live our full potential. And then we often shrink back into something a bit smaller, but we don't forget. It leaves a little yearning. We even call it sometimes divine discontent. The longing for freedom, the longing to realize and rest in my true nature. It gives us a sense of inner direction, and those things which need to maybe have been hidden and need to come out in the open, be exposed, be felt, and transformed. So something about when we bring out the ways in which we keep ourselves limited and hold back, there's a transformation that can happen. It's almost like we metabolize something inside of ourselves that has been keeping us shrunken. And what Path of Love does is it supports us to follow that longing and to trust what it is that comes up, that we can bring out into the open. And in that bringing out into the open, find some freedom that we didn't have before. Find some capacity to make deep contact. Have some capacity to love that we might have been cut off from. Have some clarity in our mind to be able to see what we really want in our lives. And it often happens in Path of Love that people do, I use a big word, revelation. Have a revelation about what it is they really want to do, even you could say are meant to do here, and they change their lives. So just notice that as I'm talking and you're reflecting on my words and feeling in your heart right now, what you notice. You might find yourself hardening against the words I'm saying or dismissing them or judging them. Or you might feel something opens. Even that something which maybe has been held closed even surrenders. And so the path of love, very slowly and very gently, takes us through this process where we learn to trust the intelligence and the beauty and the true nature of our hearts, and to take the risk to live that. And what I would say most or all who take that risk find is the capacity to make a different kind of contact with their life and with the people that they're intimate with, the people that they work with, and to open up to a more intelligent part of our being than we usually do when we operate from our, let's say, belief system. And it's also just personally, I feel it's a time historically where it's always time to wake up, but it's really time right now, in my perspective. And it's one reason why we put a little extra energy right now into reaching out with this process, because we feel like what we have and what is embodied in this process and what people find really supports people to live the life to a much deeper degree, and the life that they're meant to lead or can live. And in that, we can make a difference also in the world. So I'd like to just open up the rest of the time for questions. And really they can be about something I've said or something I didn't say, or write them out. Ronnie maybe will explain, but I think how it's going to go is you can write them in the chat box, and then Ronnie will select a question and ask me. Is that right, Ronnie?
Yes. So how we are going to proceed is that there will be many, many questions and we can't answer them all. So if you could send them on the chat, and while Rafia is answering one question, I will try my best to select the most, what resonate the most, and then Rafia can answer them. Yes, they won't be back and forth, but a question and an answer. Okay, thank you.
Take a risk.
So there is one question. Why is this process different from primal and tantra?
Primal groups focus very much on our early life conditioning. And of course, that is included in the path of love, that's what needs to come up. And often what does need to come up in a lot of people is things to do with mother, father, the original holding environment that shaped the personality. But the group is not limited to that particular area. And as part of the beauty of the path of love is that, say you're in a group with 10 other people, everybody goes where they need to go. We don't tell people where they need to go. So somebody might be working on an old trauma from, say, their mother or their father, like you would in a primal group, and the next person might be working on something totally different. Some people, there's no explicit sex in the group. It's not a tantra group, but of course many issues come up for people that have some relation to sex. Traumas come up around sex, and we work with people, and many people have become cut off from their sexual energy, and for very good reasons. And we have ways in which we support people to become very expressive of their energy, but it's not acted out in any sexual way. It might be owning the beauty and power and strength of the feminine, or the power and strength of the masculine that has something to do with sexuality, but the group isn't explicitly about either primal or tantra. It can be about questions that are similar. So, do we have more questions running?
Yes. One question asked, what do we do all day long in the group?
You tell the truth. And you stay very curious about yourself and whatever it is that's happening inside. And you inquire into yourself all the time. And you get opportunities in various forms to share with other people what your inner process is. And we do meditations. And what else do we do? And more than that, I can't really say because, it's like, but it's really a group about self-discovery. And so you're just constantly inquiring into yourself. And as other people share about themselves, sometimes it brings up something in you. And then you go, aha, what is that that's going on in me? And then you learn to go in search of your answers rather than looking for them out in the outer way, which we normally do. And the process, like I said earlier, it evolves. It changes every day. One day is a preparation for the next, and I'm not going to tell you. And I can't tell you more than that. There's never been a person who's come to do the path of love for the first time. We've had some people do it 2 or 3 times because they like it so much. And they know the process and they know what's coming. But we've never had a person who's come to do the process who knows what it is. At least that I don't know that anybody has known. And we do a very strong kind of commitment to confidentiality when you do the process. And people come out of, and that confidentiality extends to not sharing about what anybody else has shared about in the group. And we make a really big point out of that. And it's part of creating the safety in the group. So you don't talk once you come out of the group about other people's experience, nor do you give away the structure of the process. But we do teach you a way to be able to talk about what has happened inside of you, where you're just talking about yourself without revealing the process. So confidentiality is very important. And it's a very important part about creating a safe enough container where people feel that they can bring anything and everything out in the open. And they do.
Few people ask what happened after the process. Is there a support structure? Do we help the people, or does this develop after the process?
Yes. It's really important that what we offer after the process is done by the participants. We have ongoing sharing groups. We have ongoing meditations that are offered. We have ongoing advanced work. And we have a workbook that people get at the end of it to help them to process what's coming up. The understanding is really, in a way, you open up so much, and then you go back to your life, and of course, there are going to be pressures. There's going to be the world that is going to be a little bit difficult to navigate and to hold that open space. And we have a lot of ways in which we try to support you so that you can integrate the experience. So again, I can't say all the things that we do, but we have advanced groups. And one of the things that is really one of the best ways of integrating it is to come and staff. And this thing I said about staffing, we have people who have been coming to staff for 20 years because they just love to be in the room. And you come to staff and it puts you on the other side. You're doing a parallel process, but you're also holding the space for the people who are going through it, and you're bringing more understanding and integration to your own process. So we offer a very whole program, and I think a very responsible one, so that there's people who give individual sessions. So if you're left with something or something that comes up, you can work with one of the therapists from the group in order to process some new thing that comes up. We're there for you. That's for sure. It's not just like do the group and see you later.
So the next question that comes is, does the process presuppose a certain level of self-awareness? Do you need to know your heart longing and have a keen understanding of your own belief and barrier? Or does the process support you to get in touch with those?
Very good question. And you don't have to know exactly what the deepest longing in your heart is. You don't have to have done tons of therapy. But part of the application process is that you do an interview with one of the facilitators and you answer a kind of detailed questionnaire, and an assessment is made of whether this is the right group for you and the right time. And sometimes people come to it and it's just clear that they haven't reflected on themselves enough, and that it would be really better if they did, say, a primal group, or if they did something else first, and then we recommend that. But by and large, I would say it is within the capacity of most people who are able to function and lead normal lives to do this process. Now, it might be more challenging for some people who haven't done any inner work, and they're not used to opening up. They're not used to being able to share their feelings or even tell the truth. I mean, the group is challenging to everybody. It takes you out to the edge in a certain way, that zone which we don't usually go out of. But it's the place that we actually are longing for, ironically. We want to get out of that box. We want to be free. We want to be open in our love. We want to meet people and tell the truth instead of compromising, hiding, and lying. And so it's practice for life also. I've forgotten the question, but I think I answered it. Was there some part that I didn't, Ronnie?
No, I think it's the question was at the path of love. Do you need already to have an awareness, what you're longing, understanding of your own belief, or is it like that during the process you get in touch with also? I think.
The thing is you find that's part of the progression. It starts off slow and it gets deeper. And as the group goes on, you have realizations about things that you didn't when you walked into the group. And it's very intelligently put together. But as I said, there might be some people who we just sense they're not ready for it. And that's why we do this screening process ahead of time. But I would say most people who feel drawn to the path of love are fully capable of doing it.
The next question is, why do you believe Path of Love is so successful in helping people?
Because it answers the deep longing in all of our hearts to open up and to be true and to meet people on deeper levels. And we understand how that works. And people who do it have that experience. And generally, people say, I've never felt this open in my life. I've never felt so close to other people as I feel right now. I've never experienced myself so clear. And so to tell you why is a compilation of all the component parts that are built into the group. And, you know, it's like I'm one of the founders of the group, but I bow down to the group. It has almost an energy and a life of its own. So many people have done it right now, and every time somebody goes through it, it gets a little bit richer and a little bit stronger and a little bit more clear and goes a little bit deeper. And I would say also because those of us who lead it, we really try to walk the talk and we really care about it. And we have a lot of skill in helping people navigate to be able to face the particular obstacles or problems that they have in being able to really live the life that they want to live. And we're a very experienced crew of people. There's also something of the divine that comes in, whether you want to call it God or Great Spirit or nature or Mother Nature or whatever, and it's typical of religions that belong to what is called the path of love, like religions where you come to a place and you surrender or you pray or you come to a place where you've done everything you can do on your side and you ask for help. You know, you surrender that false will that says, I'm going to do it. It's up to me. And you come to a place where you just open up and and one of the words we use is pray. You know, you pray to and we don't put names on it like God or anything. We let you find the name you want. You can pray to a tree, you can pray to the sky, but there's certain places where we need help. And that very asking for help is a surrender of a position that keeps us fixed and keeps us closed in some way. And so that is a very important part of the path of love. Everybody, I think, comes to that point where there isn't necessarily a psychological, intellectual conclusion that you can reach that's going to change. Something surrenders inside and opens up, and that surrendering is so powerful. It changes the whole structure, our structure.
So before we finish that evening or that moment, I would like to answer really shortly some very practical questions that people ask. Yeah, so it goes like, because it's really practical. So some people ask about the pricing. Yeah, there is a basic pricing, the same in every country, but then the VAT is different in every country. To find the pricing that is going to be in the country that you choose, you go on our website and then you ask them how much costs that process in that country, and they will answer you. Yeah, we have a participant organizer for every country. Then somebody asks if we sleep enough. Yeah, you will sleep enough, but not 9 hours. Yeah, you know, the process is really to focus on yourself, on your journey. Yeah, so you sleep enough, you eat enough. If some people have some diet like vegan, we have vegetarian food in most venue, but maybe not all of them, you want to have space to say what is your diet. Yeah. Then someone asked if I have my children and I want to talk to them. Yes, we will have an emergency number and we'll set up time to couple of times during the process to talk to your children. Yeah, that's really important, especially if they're small.
During the process, you're in silence. We hold it's a 24/7 process. You get enough to eat, you get enough rest, sleep, etc. But when you're out of the group room, you're not talking. You're just you learn to turn all of that energy in. Nobody has their phone. You don't check your email. It's like you take 7 days for yourself to focus and go inside and find out who you are and what you really want and what you really need in your life. And we support you in every way to do that, but we take away some of the stuff that sometimes gets in the way of doing that. But there are exceptions. If you have kids, it's really important. Then we won't let you keep your phone. We'll give it to you at a certain time of day so you can make that phone call, and then you give it back to us. It's like every point is so worked out. It's kind of amazing. Go ahead, Ronnie. Sorry to interrupt.
And then the last thing I would like to say, some people ask, how does it work? So you go on our website, you find which type of love you would like to take part in. You write the participant organizer. You will fill up a form, application form. Everybody will have a talk, which we call interview, but like a talk with one of a facilitator, one of a therapist who is on a path of love. And from that interview, from that very intimate talk on many levels, we'll decide together, actually, is that the right time for you to do that process? So, of course, some people ask, or is it if I have some trauma, or is it like stable enough? Yeah, we'll check this out together and we'll see if that's really a process for you at this time of your life. And what is it that you want to look into? It's not only about trauma, but somebody asked about my choice and ambition. It's like it's really, Papa Love is an open book, you look at whatever you need to look into. Yes, thank you.
So, Ronnie, are we at the end of our first Path of Love taster? I think we are. I want to thank you all for coming. I hope it was useful for you. I hope it gives you a little bit of a glimpse and understanding. It may have raised more questions than it answered. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But I hope you can feel from Ronnie and I our sincerity, our love of this work, our desire to share it with as many people as possible. And to maybe some of you are just going to join this community of people who have been, you can say, initiated into a particular way of doing inner work and have your life enriched by that. We're running at a very, very high success rate in that way, where people come away and they just feel like my life has changed. And I'm very happy and proud and everything to be part of that. There's an article that was written by a participant and it was published in a magazine. It's by a woman named Clover Stroud. I'm quite sure that it is, you can find it on the Path Retreats website. And she's a very, very accomplished writer, and she writes about her personal experience in Path of Love, and she does it in a very clear and beautiful way. So if you're interested, I would recommend that you read that article. It takes maybe 10 minutes. Are you looking for it, Ronnie?
Yeah.
Is Jackie online with us?
Hi, everyone. Yes, Ronnie, it's on the homepage. I've just sent you a link.
Great. Thank you, Jackie. So everybody, I send you much respect for showing up and gratitude for your showing up, and hopes that I get to meet you somewhere in the future in the path of love. Thank you.